Hello and welcome to another adventure. Today I want to have a chat about something I think most people seem to be avoiding, a subject or a solution to the problem of fixing punctures, especially when you're out on your big bike, so your medium to big bike, and you get a puncture in the rear. You know, what are you going to do? What is your plan? Are you on tubed, tubeless? What are you going to do? Yeah, so over winter I've been thinking about tyre choice, and if I go on a long trip, say I'm going to Portugal and I'm out and I get a puncture in the rear, what am I going to do? How am I going to get the tyre off the rim? So on and so on. Also talking to my friends. I was out recently with my friend Sean out on his Ducati, and we were having a good chat about what you're going to do. I watched an interesting video recently of a guy. Oh, he's done this really great series of videos on doing the ACT UK. I think he's Austrian, but he got a rear puncture from a nail in his Norden 901. And the nail not only punctured the tyre, but punctured the inner seal that seals the rim off from the spokes. And so he successfully plugged it, but because he punctured the inner seal, it then meant he couldn't fix the puncture. And because of where the valve was, it's off center, he couldn't then fit an inner tube, and caused him absolute dramas, driving around trying to fix it, you know, the whole anxiety post sort of semi-fixing it. And I just thought, surely that's not a good thing. You know, what are other people doing? What is their plan? So today let's just have a quick chat about punctures, what I carry, how I plan to fix my punctures, and how my tyre choices have been affected because of the puncture plan. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, so let's first look at the kit I carry that's relative to fixing punctures. So I'll start with this. This is my wallet. That's normally in the pocket of my jacket. So this is just my normal everyday carry bike wallet. So it's, you know, I've got my money in there and a few other odds and sods that are handy when I'm out on the bike. But key thing that I always carry, and it's in my wallet, in my pocket, is my tyre pressure gauge. So I'm going to need that in a minute. So I've got a tyre pressure gauge there. I have, while we're on the subject of wheels, I always carry a couple of small spanners that I can do my tighten my spokes with. So I've got that in my pocket. Then in my day sack, I've always got this with me. So this is just a kit I've sort of made up myself. It's not something I bought off the shelf. So in this bag here, I've got I've got a cycle pump there, some zip ties. I've got this fork seal tool here. But specifically for fixing punctures, I've got this bike pump, yeah, which is just a mountain bike pump, and then I've got this Rolling Mavericks stand just here. Now this is a great bit of kit. So this is the Rolling Mavericks stand. I mean, all of this is under 200 grams, so it's really lightweight, really handy bit of kit. And this, because I haven't got a scent stand on the T7 or obviously on my CRF 450, this is what I use and convert to make a stand. So in this little bag here, you've got the foot plate, you've got a top piece, and then you've got this R-clip that holds it all together. I've just put some amalgamating tape around the top there, just so it makes it the top end a bit more sticky and less likely to scratch the frame. So like I said, this is made by a company called Rolling Mavericks. So if I pull the bottom out of there like that, I can then take that bit out of there. That then goes through there, that goes into there, that goes into there like that. Whoop, chucking the R-clip. That then goes into there, and then let's give that a lick. Yeah, and then that goes into there like that. So you've got an instant bike stand, and you know, I use that when I'm out and about quite a lot because it's handy for, and makes it really easy for oiling the chain. So I've got my Rolling Mavericks stand. So I always carry these are always in my day sack. All of this, apart from the wallet, is always in my day sack. all of this. I carry it on every ride, no matter which bike I'm on. So then I've got this, excuse me, oh, I've had a shit cold for a couple of weeks now, it's getting on my nerves. So then I've got these two tyre levers. Now I've had this one for years and years and years. I've got another similar one, but back in my motocross days, because I was changing tyres all the time, and I've had to file this down recently because the sort of chrome plating's been coming off, just with a bit of sandpaper just to smooth it off. But it's a great bit of kit. Now this is made by a company called DRC. What I like about this is it's really thin there, so it's easier to slide in to fix to get it between the rim and the tyre. And this end here, when you're sort of spinning it over, it's just really comfortable to use. So I've got two tyre levers, and then I've got one of these Motion Pro ones with a spanner on the end, and that is a 32mm spanner. So that fits on the wheel nut of my CRF. And then in my toolkit, so this is my toolkit that I always carry, it's obviously all my tools, and then in there I've got this adapter, and so then that there means I can then use whatever size drive that is. I always forget. So say like I've got a 22mm there, which is for, I think, for the front of the T7 and the no, it's not. In fact, no, that's for the waffling on here. That's for the yeah, that's for the CRF. Yeah, so then I've got that adapter there, which you'll see me use in a second. Yeah, so that's a nice flexible kit. Obviously I could get one of these that's specific to the T7, but I don't particularly like these as tie levers. They're not great to use. They're quite thick, cumbersome. I'm not a fan, but for what it is, because of this, you do need it. So then I've got a 21-inch inner tube that is always in my day sack. And then I've recently bought this. So I think this is Rocky Creek. This is a company it's made by, and it's this pump that's obviously uses the bike. So that just then screws into there, like so. And then it's got a sort of specific end on it there that just plugs into a bit I've already wired into the T7. And then you've got this great pump. And point to note, you've got a little valve there so you can check the tyre pressure. So eventually, you know, I'm going to have to use this on there to check that. Obviously I could do it straight on the bike, but it just makes it handy while you're pumping it up. Okay, so that's most of my kit that I've got that I carry about my person on every ride. Now on the T7 I leave a couple of bits that are just always on the bike. So for instance, I've always got this little pouch sitting in the back there, and then under the seat I have got a rear inner tube. So that's just the sort of standard lightweight inner tube that I've snuck in there under the seat, and there's a fair bit of room there for that to go, so that just fits nicely there. So I've always got a rear when I'm out on the T7. And then in this little pouch here, bear with, let me just show you. So in this little pouch here I just got a couple of other useful things, like for instance that's the spanner for my suspension. So I've got a rag just to obviously stop it all rattling around. I've got a socket, and that is the socket for the nut on there. So that's the socket for the nut on the axle. And then I also carry one of these, which is just a handy little, make Sean gave me this, and it's a good idea really. It just means it makes it easier for getting access to the wheel, just gives you a bit more flexibility by just carrying them. I think they're made by Oxford. You'll find them in your local bike shop though, so that's a handy bit of kit to carry. And then the obvious thing that you need for the T7 and some other bikes is one of these sort of hex drive adapters. I'm not sure what that is there. What does that say that is? 14 to 17 mil, so I think the bigger one is 17 mil. I'm not sure. But then in my toolkit, I've got a nut that fits on there, a tool, you know, so obviously I can loosen the pinch bolts and take the front wheel off. But I'm not going to do the front wheel today. Today I'm going to demonstrate on the rear wheel, because that just seems to be the wheel that no one ever demonstrates on. Everyone, when they do these things, they show you fixing the front wheel. Well, fronts are really, really easy. Getting the front off the rim is very easy. You know, it comes off super easy. But the rear tyre is a completely different matter, and so I'll come on to that in a second. So there's my Motion Pro tyre lever. So like I say, this is a 32mm nut, but then I bought this whatever you call it, adapter, a 32mm adapter to go with it, with a socket drive on there. I think it's a great bit of kit actually, because I use this not just for this, but I use it for some of the bolts that are tighter, that need a bit more of a, you know, a bit more persuasion. So say such as the bolts on the brake caliper, the pinch bolts on the axle and stuff like that. But obviously this just fits onto there like that. And yeah, so I did a video recently, and I think it was one where I was talking about the bling I'd bought for the bike, and a friend Toby messaged me and said, oh Mike, you know, why is your axle nut on the opposite side? They come out of the shop with a nut on the other side. And I'd never noticed this, I'd never really given it any thought, because that's just where they've always been. But the obvious advantage of having the nut on this side is it's just easier to get to, and easier in some ways to get your foot on this to get that nut off. So if I'm going to fix my puncture, well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find a safe and cleanish place to do it. So, you know, I've taken the bike off the middle of the trail there. There just happened to be a brick on the floor, so I've put my stand on the brick, but I always carry a puck thing in my pocket for when I'm, you know, you're camping and you're stopping somewhere, it's boggy, then, you know, they weigh nothing, so they're worth carrying. But yeah, so I've just found a suitable, clean and easy place to get the tyre off. So the first thing I'm then going to do is I'm just gonna so I'll just put my camera down so you can see me do this. So the first thing I'm going to do is, yeah, so the first thing I'm going to do is just slacken that nut off. It's far easier to do it now than once it's on the stand. So, and I never girth these up like Superman or anything. I think that people often over tighten them, but some of them do have a ridiculous pounds foot sort of torque setting, but I never do that. I've never had any issues. Obviously you want it fucking tight, but it doesn't need to be like, I think something like the Ducati. It's ridiculous. Yeah, okay, so that's nice and loose now. So that's the first thing I'm going to do is just crack that off. Right, so obviously, as you can see there, I've just easily used the stand, and I've used the puck that I always carry, just to give that an extra bit of support, because, you know, we certainly don't want that falling off of there. That causes some issues. I also, while I remembered, I just opened up the brake pads a bit with my tie lever, just because that tends to be the thing I always forget. So I always do it as soon as I can. Now, I have got a rag, as I mentioned, but because the floor is quite clean, then I've just put the drive side down on the ground, just so I can demonstrate to you what I want to today. So you're going to need a 12 and 14 mil spanners generally. On the T7, you only need the 12 mil to take the so this is obviously if you're going to take the inner tube out to fix the puncture. So with the T7, you'll need the 12 mil to get the nut off the valve. But if, say, on the 450, then I need the 14 mil to undo the rim lock. But obviously I'm not going to need that today. Okay, so let's just talk about tyres. So as you can see here, this is the Pirelli MT 21, and it's a 140/80/18 tyre. Now it's still got quite a good rating. Look, it's a 70R rating, so that means I think it's good for something like 106 miles an hour. So it's more than capable of, you know, doing what the T7 needs to do. And I've really liked this tyre since I got it. So why did I get it? Well, it's really claggy down this lane, and I've just come down here fairly slowly, but this tyre's got really good aggressive tread on it. And recently when I did a trip in my last video, which was the one me and my friend Sean did in Cambridgeshire, it was really quite boggy and muddy in places, and I had no trouble with grip at all. You know, because this rear tyre was great. So like I say, it's the Pirelli MT21, but it's in a 140. And why did I get a 140 instead of a 150? Well, that's because the 140s are really easy to get off the rim. On the front of the bike, I've got a Michelin tracker. So that's, I did a review of the trackers last year, and they just bring the bike alive off-road because they're such aggressive tyres. But like with my TRF discount, I can get these for about 45 quid, cheap as chips. They've been fine on the road. I've done, I mean, there's, you know, it's hard to tell because it's so muddy, but you know, I've not lost that much off of these. You know, you can still see the little knobbles on the top there. So, you know, I reckon I've done at least 500 miles on these and on that rear, and they've been absolutely, well, in fact more, because I did some on this before I got the MT21. So, you know, they're a great tyre. Yes, they're not going to be brilliant in the wet, but on a day like today, they're not going to be good on the wet on the road. But on a day like today, am I concerned about that? No, because the roads are dry. But it is super boggy and claggy here. So I want a tyre that's going to work for me. Yeah, so then obviously we've then got the MT21 on the rear. And like I said, it's a good, aggressive tyre. And the really good thing I like about this and that tracker front is that they are reversible. So say, unlike the Motos Rels, which aren't reversible, and once they start to wear, then you've just got to go with the wear pattern. And the front especially, you get that sort of, I forget what they call it, cupping or something, whatever it is. And yeah, I had real dramas with my Motos Rels, and it just fucks up the tyre. Whereas with that tracker, once it starts to wear, I can flip it and square off the wear again. So that is another good thing I like about this MT21. So let me just show you this next thing. So I'm just going to lay the wheel down there, and I'm just going to get I'm just going to take the valve out and let the tyre down and just show you how easy it is to get it off the rim. Yeah, so normally this is the bit where people have lots of problems, and you end up having to buy something like and I've got a set, the Motion Pro bead breaker tyre levers, and they're just massive. They weigh a ton, they're cumbersome, and they're shit for actually doing getting the tyre off bit. They're maybe as good at breaking the bead. I recently just tried I was using the Rabaconda, and I thought, well, I'll try them, see if I can get the stock tyre off the rim using those bead breakers. And I could of a fashion, but you know, I just think why? What, you know, why would you? So look, so this is, so that tyre is fully deflated now, and there you go. Look, just with a bit of pressure, I am now able to get that unseated. Yeah, which is basically what would happen if I was doing this with my 450. It would be the same sort of thing. So just trying to keep this as clean as I can. So just to make it easier now, so I'm just going around here. Right, so that's proven quite difficult, so I'm just going to leave it in there. On that side, it's obviously, so let's give it a bit of pressure. So there you go, that's broke the seal there now, and that just means the inner tube is moving into more of the center of the rim. So to change tires easily, you need to get the tire into the center of the rim, not on the edges of the rim. Okay, so same on this side. Let's just right, so that's the bead broken now, well and truly, and I'm ready to change the inner tube or fix the punch, whichever I'm going to do. So I'm just going to, first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to slacken off the nut on the valve. So I'm going to slacken that off nearly all the way. Okay, so I've slackened that off, and so there's just it's just on by a couple of threads. And then, so I like to start halfway away from the opposite side to the valve. So I'm just going to get that one in there, and then that one in there, both together. Put that under there. And this is why I like this one. It's because of the shape of it. When you're pushing it in, it doesn't hurt your hand, and this bit's nice and thin, and it just gets in there really easy. So I'm feeling my way around, being super careful. Obviously, I don't want to do any damage to the inner tube. Excuse me. I'll take that out now. Right, as I get close to the valve, I'm being super careful. Don't want to damage that valve. So I'm just going to push the tube in. It'll just keep that bit away from me as I go past the valve there. Okay, so that's off of there now. I can give that just a bounce. There we go. So that's super easy just to do that one side. Now on the 450, you can actually at this point pull the tyre away and get the inner tube out, but you're not going to do that on this because the rim is so wide. You're going to have to take the whole tyre off. So all you need to do now is just flip it over and do the same on the other side. Almost opposite. You've got to make sure that the tyre is in the centre of that rim, otherwise, see how it just popped off there? Otherwise you'll never get it off. If it's up tight against this here, you'll never get it off. And so it's just a case of doing the same again. Yeah, so 2 tyre levers is all you need. Look, you don't need a shitload of tyre levers. It's just more kit to carry, more kit to worry about. Yeah, so I'm coming to the valve. So just be really careful with the valve. You don't want to damage the valve. Just little bits at a time. Okay, so it's off both sides. So now all I need to do is pull that out at the top. So this is the bit that can be difficult, so get that back in the middle there. Right, I was just struggling to get the rim out there, but there was still quite a bit of air left in. So as I'm letting the air out now, obviously the rim is going further into the centre of the tyre because the inflated inner tube was stopping it from dropping right in, which obviously isn't a problem you're going to have if you've got a puncture. But you can see now that's created a much bigger gap, and now I can just... Is that all gone? Right, come on. Right. Woo. Okay. Yeah, it's quite a lot of air in there. I should have just took the valve out. Okay, so tyre off, and so the next thing I need to do, what I would do if I was putting in a new inner tube, is I would just inflate it. So that is the perfect inflated amount in there actually at the minute. It's just sort of holding itself up right, so it's sort of filling the tyre, it's round. You don't want it all saggy when you're putting it back in, because you're more likely to catch it with your tyre levers. So the first thing that I'm going to do is offer up the rear. Now, because it's multi-directional tyre, another good thing with the MT21, doesn't matter which way round I put it on now, so I'm not fussed either way. Got no preference. I've only used it for about 500 miles, so there's not much of an edge on it, but if it gets flipped, so be it. So first thing I'm going to do, just going to put the valve through and put the nut on, just a couple of complete turns. That's all you need. So I haven't got a tyre clamp to worry about with this, so I'm just going to make sure that that's seated correctly. I'm going to flip it over like so. Oh, that's all fallen out. Something that's going to stay in. Right, it's getting quite muddy there, so I'm going to put my rag down just for the disc to sit on that. Right, so first thing I've got to do is just get that first side on. So this is the easy bit really, just pulling that bit in. There we go. Another one this side. So this is the bit where having that 140 tyre, and because it's a 140 tubed tyre, the carcasses are actually much softer, suppler, so you're less likely to have issues. I mean, I've had a bit of a issue getting that off the rim there on my own, but you know, I managed it once I manned up. Okay, so I'm going to start putting the tyre back on opposite to where the valve is, so it doesn't really matter this bit, trying to keep it as clean as I can. And then just going to put my knee on that there, and then using the one, you can easily do this with one inner tube, with one tie lever even. It's dead easy to do with one inner tube. Right, okay. So I'm just going to make sure I miss the valve, and while I go over the valve, I'm just going to push the valve in, and that will sit on the rim there. This is, see that, because that's thinner, it's so much easier to get out. So I'm constantly making sure that the tyre is right in the middle of the rim. Yeah. Now if you had something like a bit of, you could put something like WD-40 or GT85 on it just to make it a little bit easier to slip on. But it shouldn't be too much of a problem as long as you keep it right in the centre. Right, so I'm coming up to the last bit now, last sort of 8 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put both my tie levers in, and I'm going to end with that one. So that one there, and then that one in there. If you try and do that last bit while it's really tight, it can be difficult to get the single tie lever in. Just let me see. So this is a problem with these tie levers because they're a little bit fatter. No, it don't want to go in, so I'm going to have to do it with the one. Right, there we go. We should be all right. Okay, back on. Let's put that then back in there. Right. So wheels back together. I like to just give it a bit of a bounce, just in case that inner tube has got hooked up somewhere. It just gives it a chance to sort of move away from the rim. So I'm now just going to tighten that up just enough so I can get the valve on it. Right. So as I mentioned, I have got a hand pump, which is an old pump I used to take mountain biking with me, which when I'm out on the CRF is plenty, but when I'm out on the T7, then it just makes a lot more sense, because if you're trying to get that up to 28 psi, then it's going to take you forever using the hand pump. I did try using some oxygen CO2 cylinders that I had from cycling, and fucking useless. 3 cartridges, and I think I got it up to 18 psi, so it was a lot of pissing around, dicking about, and I just thought, you know what, that's a shit idea. So that's when I went out and bought this pump. So this is, like I say, this is a pump, I think it's Rocky Creek, and it's the version 2 of the pump. I'll put a link up and a picture to it. I bought it from the adventure bike shop in Acton. So, and then what I've done in here, look, so it comes with this, so this is the other end to it, so that sits nicely in there. And then if you look here, this is fused, so you know, you're not going to do any damage to the bike because that's got a fuse in it. So bear with. Okay, so that obviously just plugs up to there, and then you've got a nice pump. Now obviously you could use that for blowing up your kit when you go camping or anything like that. It doesn't use a lot of power, it doesn't drain the battery, so I'm not worried about flattening the battery while I'm doing this. I know my battery's in good nick, and I've tested this a couple of times, and it doesn't drain the battery much at all. So what I'm going to do, look, is I'm just going to screw this thing onto the end there. Bear with. So I've screwed that onto there. So then that now means that I can easily just put that onto there. And set it charging, or inflating even. Yeah, it's a good bit of kit. It's fairly quiet. It'll blow that up to about 24 psi in just a couple of minutes. Yeah, the other good thing about having the compressor as opposed to, say, the cylinders or the hand pump is you can overinflate the tyre if you want. So I'm trying to make sure that this is seating on the tyre properly, and it's just starting to force its way on now. So I could easily overinflate this, say, to 40 psi, just to make sure that that tyre is fully seated on the rim. Right, where are we at now? Okay, yeah, that's 30 psi, which is slightly over what I want, but I can obviously deflate it. Yeah, it looks like it's sealed nicely on the rim there. Perfect. Right, let's get a move on. It's starting to rain. Nothing makes you move a bit quicker than when the heavens open. Oh. Right, so I'm not going to do that fully up until it's down on the ground, but that's nice and tight. So then I can just rock that over, pull that out, chuck them over there so I don't forget them. Right, so that's tight enough for that. Puncture plan. You know, what is your puncture plan? Have you got a puncture plan? Do you know what to do? I would say I'm quite proficient at doing it. I mean, it is really easy, essentially. It's just, with that tyre, it is just that final bit, getting it off the rim. Now, I've had Motos rails on this, front and rear. The fronts are always really easy to do. Fronts are a doddle, which is why I haven't demonstrated on the front like most people do, because any fool can do the front. The rear tyre is where the difficulty comes. Now, I have tried and I could not, and I would call myself an experienced tyre changer from all my motocross racing days, I could not get the Motos rails off of that, no matter how hard I try. And so in the end, I ended up buying a Rabaconda. It's a doddle to do with a Rabaconda, really easy, but I can't take the Rabaconda with me out on the trail. So I've, looked at this over the winter and I've thought, well, what can I do? And it seemed to me one of the sensible things to do was to go for a different tyre. So now there has been some chat on the TRF pages that the AA and the RAC, the AA and the RAC have said they will not recover bikes from green lanes, or if they suspect you've been green laning. I need to confirm this. Apparently it's in the T's and C's when you join the AA and the RAC, but I have got to confirm that. So I ride alone, I go to remote places-ish, some lanes are like 3 miles from anywhere. If I get a puncture, what am I going to do? I need to be able to fix it. I'm on my own. I need a puncture plan. And so for me, that 140 rear goes a long way to solving that problem. And it means I can use some more aggressive tyres that work better off-road. And the other bits of kit, I really do rate that pump, that Rocky Creek pump. And sorry, as I've said, think about what you're going to use as tie levers. I've shown you what I've got. I like them, I love them. I've demonstrated today how easy it is to use them. You don't need great big massive tyre levers. You just need to practice it. Anyway, right, so that's enough waffling from me. I hope you've found this video useful and informative. And if nothing else, I hope it's made you scratch your head a bit and think, well, what am I going to do? Yeah, I've got a tubeless setup, but what if the inner seal fails on a tubeless? Can I get an inner tube in? Have I got the kit to get an inner tube in? What am I going to do? Because it can soon ruin a ride or a trip if you start having dramas over a simple thing such as fixing a puncture. Okay, so that's all from me. Yeah, so hopefully you've liked it, you've found it reasonably informative. So consider giving the video a like, consider subscribing to the channel, and hopefully I'll see you back on the channel soon for another adventure. If I don't see you on the channel, then maybe I'll see you out on the lovely lanes such as this, riding your bike. So from me, from Mike, bye for now, and I'll hopefully see you soon. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.